We're lucky enough to have the legendary Mike Clark on the phone. We're big fans of Mike Clark. Mike, you've been on the show 3 times. This is your 3rd time now. And so since we've discussed so much, we had you on first time to talk about your last album, Blueprints in Jazz, and then we had you on to talk about the passing of Buddy Miles. And this is the 3rd time you've got a new album out. But I just, since it's your 3rd time, I just thought I'd say, what do you want to talk about today, Mike? What do you want to talk about?
Well, okay, I'll tell you what. First of all, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'll tell you what. I'm in Indiana right now, and I'm doing a new Headhunters record.
Well, that's great news.
And you know what? This one sounds really good. This is one of the. I haven't done this one that sounds this good since Thrust, in my humble opinion.
Wow.
Yeah. This has. Bill Summers and myself are leading it. Richie Goods on bass, Patrice Rushen on piano.
Who was on your last album?
Who was on my last album.
Right.
She's also a friend of Bill's. They just did a tour with Harvey Mason over in Japan.
All right.
We have Donald Harrison, our favorite saxophonist and person in life. And along with Rob Dixon, Derek Gardner, and Snoop Dogg, believe it or not.
Really?
Dell, the funky Homo sapien rapper out of Oakland, Rakim, Killer Priest, and I think that's.
So you've got a hip hop thing
happening, but that's all I can think of right now.
You've got a hip hop thing, a hip hop meets jazz thing happening then for this particular.
Hip hop meets jazz, and the interesting thing about this record is we didn't hold back and just play straight time and play hip hop beats. We just played, and then they threw down on top of it.
Well, they've already sampled. I mean, how many Mike Clark groups have already been sampled? So you're just sort of avoiding the people who made money off of you, I guess. Yeah,
indeed. Like Ice Cube and all those cats, NWA, they made huge piles of money off us, and I do not lament the fact I don't have an $80,000 watch on my wrist, but I like playing the music with the Headhunters as much as I like playing jazz. Funk and jazz are the two things, and the blues that I live for, and I love to play. So I'm a happy camper. We're mixing it right now, and it sounds real good. I guess the other thing I'd like to talk about is Carnival of Soul, my new record that's out, which is another record that I really dig. I don't dig all the records I do because they're my records or because I'm on them. I mean, I have plenty of them out there that I felt like, I could have done better, or the music didn't lay the way I wanted to, or whatever. But Carnival of Soul, I put it right where I wanted it to go. I wanted it to sound like a nightclub. I wanted it to sound like an organ lounge in New York.
Right.
The whole record. I didn't want the perfect microphones and the perfect drum sound. I wanted this to sound funky.
That's sort of how you came up, right? That's sort of came up playing with organ groups.
I came up playing with organ groups, and I had my own organ group for 4 years, actually, in a club, 4 nights a week, which, was the weirdest thing. I walked into a bar to have a drink, and it was hot. I wanted a beer. It was afternoon, and the guy said, we started talking. He said, so you're a musician now, we're talking. And he said, I said, I have an organ trio, which I really didn't. I just knew an organ player and a guitar player. And he gave me the gig 4 nights a week. We had it for, I think it was more like 3.5 years, not quite 4 years, which was that was an incredible thing to happen,
Right, yeah. Well, tell me how this came about. Tell me how the new album came about, and then we'll play something from the new album.
Well, okay, let's see. I want to do an organ record, and I came and I did the Jazz Kitchen with Jerry Z and Rob Dixon.
Right.
And that's how I met Rob. Somebody recommended him to me, and I loved playing with him. I was like, oh, man, this cat can do anything. You know, he could play anything that we could play, and he didn't even have to think about it. It was natural.
Right.
So he called me and said, listen, I know this record company that may be interested in doing something. Do you have anything you can send them? I had just done a couple of organ tracks with Delbert Bump and Steve Holman, who was Jimmy Smith's guitar player.
Right.
And Delbert's an organ player. I'd done Tease Boogaloo, Bookin', and I think we did Angel Eyes. Yeah, in fact, I know we did. And I had those in the can. I sent them in. They said, it's great. So I used those 3 tracks, which I already had done, and then I recorded with Rob and Jerry Z. I also ran into Delbert McClinton, the soul singer,
Right.
and blues singer, and I'm like, he's an old friend of mine. I worked with him when I was 17, and he said, "Hey, what you got going?" And I said, "Well, we're just saying hello to each other the first time in years." And I told him, and he said, "Hey, let's do a few things. Let me jump on some of that." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, I got no problem with that, bro." He came in and knocked out Cry Me a River one take, and it was killing. And then Lenny White is a dear friend of mine, and he's like, "Hey, let me come over and hear what you guys are doing." So he's sitting in the studio, and there's an extra drum kit in there. There were two of them. And he says, "Look, Mike, we got to play together right now." And he said, "What do you got anything?" And I went, "Yeah, let's play Sid Catlett's lick and turn it into some funk." And he went, "Cool." So we did.
All right.
And that's also on my CD. So that's how it went down. It was real natural. Everything was just really easy. It was not one of those uphill battles, you know.
Right, right. And the album's doing pretty well, too, you were telling me, right?
Yeah, it was number 8. It was in the top 10. It was number 8 in the charts for 3 weeks, and number 10 for a week, and number 12 for a week. So it's been out there about 11 or 12 weeks, and it's just now starting to kind of come down. You know what I mean?
Well,
but it sat up there for quite a long time, and I got some killer reviews. Everybody really liked it.
Well, that's really cool for an organ trio album in the 21st century. You know what I mean? That's really cool, and I think that's great, and you should be very proud of that.
Yeah, I am, and it's a jazz record. I mean, there's some funky stuff on there, but for all intents and purposes, it would be classified under the, if you got to put it under something, which usually they do.
Yep.
It would be considered a jazz record. So considering those two things and that market, I'd say I got it across the plate pretty good, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and tell us a little bit about the track Tease Boogaloo, and then we'll play that.
When I was a kid in Oakland, I was about 19, Paul Jackson was my best friend, the bass player with the Headhunters, and Herbie Hancock, famous bass player and a great guy. And there was a piano player and a writer, arranger, big band, small groups, whatever, quintets, quartet, named Al Tanner. And we used to play in the Al Tanner Trio and a bunch of other configurations, like I just said. And then Tanner used to come by my house all the time, and I had guys over there jamming. And he was, at that time, this was 1968, I was young, and he was like always wanting to play some boogaloo, you know. Mike, play those boogaloo beats, you know. And I was like, okay. So me and Delbert Bump were reminiscing about him. He passed away, Mr. Tanner did, and he really was a great community guy. He kept us all out of trouble. He kept us busy with the jazz music. And we were working and doing TV shows and recording and stuff, and he really kept the ball in play, you know, and he taught us a lot about life and stuff. So I wrote this tune for him, me and Delbert did, called Tease Boogaloo in his honor. You know.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and play that. It's the new album is called Carnival of Soul on Owl Studios Records, and this track is called Tease Boogaloo. We're talking to Mike Clark on the phone. We'll play a few tracks from the new album, and we'll play some other Mike Clark stuff here in this next set, and then we'll get back with Mike and talk a little bit more. Hang in there, Mike. We'll be right back with you. Okay.
Cool.
All
right, Todd. Thanks, bro.
Yeah. Here's Mike Clark on the Burnt Toast Show.